Good morning. Hello. My name is Ali Zaidi. I'm the Deputy Director for Energy Policy with the Domestic Policy Council, and just absolutely thrilled to welcome all of you here today. Before I have the pleasure of introducing our first speaker, and do a few housekeeping notes. First, I want to say hello to all the people who are joining us online. This event is live streamed, so everything you say will be heard all around the world, which is awesome. We will also, to engage our friends who are tuning in online, be taking questions for panelists and others throughout the day. And the hashtags that you should be using are either hashtag WHChamps or hashtag ActOnClimate. And then a last note of housekeeping, which is perhaps the most important. The restrooms are out these doors and to the left. So out that door and well, right that way or left that way. So with that, I want to introduce our first speaker, who is the counselor to the president and really doesn't need much of an introduction, probably to many of you who have worked with him along the years. John Podesta has been a tremendous leader on both energy and climate issues from his time as Chief of Staff to then President Clinton, as the founder and head of the Center for American Progress, and now as the guy who tells us that we got to do more every single day. We are delighted to have him kick off today and this series of fantastic speakers, panelists, and champions that will be speaking today and sharing their insights.
Thank you, and good morning. Welcome to the White House. Thank you all for joining us at the White House Solar Summit. We're here today to recognize the extraordinary leadership of 10 solar champions of change, who were chosen out of nearly 200 nominations from around the country, and to announce a set of new federal tools and resources that will help leaders like the people who will be recognized today bring solar energy and solar jobs to their communities. Throughout human history, we've harnessed, of course, the energy of the sun in ways large and small, from lighting fires to powering the International Space Station. Today, the real and growing threat of climate change, driven by greenhouse gas emissions, has made more urgent the need to capture the sun's energy and to use that energy to power our economy. The electricity sector is the single largest source of U.S. greenhouse gas emissions, making up about a third of total carbon dioxide emissions in 2012. In 2009, President Obama pledged that the United States would reduce its greenhouse gas emissions by about 17% below 2005 levels by 2020, and we're on our way. In 2012, we had the lowest emissions since 1994. But generating more renewable energy through solar power is a crucial part of the equation to keep us on target. It's also what the best available science tells us we must do. Earlier this week, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change released an updated report, the third in its series. We need to drastically curb greenhouse gas emissions beginning today, the IPCC tells us, if we have any hope of keeping average global temperatures from spiraling out of control. That means we need to double down, to triple down on our global commitment to develop clean energy resources, including solar, as President Obama's Climate Action Plan does when he pledged last summer that the United States would double renewable electricity generation by 2020. We have a lot to do in a lot of arenas. We need to make our homes more, and our businesses, our appliances, and our transportation more energy efficient. We need to look after the health of our oceans, which absorb fully 1/3 of the carbon dioxide we emit and are becoming dangerously acidic as a result. And we urgently need to help finance clean energy solutions in developing countries, where leaders are rightly seeking to boost economic growth and human development by expanding access to electricity. But investing in solar power makes sense for our environment, it makes sense for our economy, and it makes sense for our national security. By almost any measure, the solar energy industry has been amongst the fastest growing industries in the United States over the last 5 years. Last year, solar energy was the second largest source of new electricity added to the grid, only after natural gas. Every 4 minutes, another American home or business went solar. Since President Obama took office, the United States has deployed more than 12 gigawatts of solar power, enough to power 1.4 million homes. And that means good jobs for American workers, jobs that can't be shipped overseas. Today, estimates put employment in the solar sector at nearly 150,000. And the power generated through those solar installations is more affordable than ever before. Since early 2010, the average cost of solar panels has dropped more than 60%. That means that more Americans can benefit from installing solar panels in their homes and businesses. And the federal government has done its part to lead by example. 5 years ago, there was not one renewable energy project on the hundreds of millions of acres of public lands in this country. Today, the Department of Interior is on track to issue permits for enough renewable energy generation on public lands to power more than 6 million homes. And the Department of Defense, which is the single largest consumer of energy in the country, has committed to deploying 3 gigawatts of renewable energy on military installations by 2025. That's real progress, but we know it's not enough. That's why we're here today. Agencies from across the federal government have worked together to come up with new funding opportunities, new tools, and new resources to help families, businesses, and communities access clean, renewable, affordable solar power. The Sunshot program at the Department of Energy, and you'll hear from Secretary Moniz in a minute, is announcing a $15 million solar market pathways funding opportunity to help state, local, and tribal leaders develop multi-year solar deployment plans for their communities. Those plans could include creating community solar programs or using local financing mechanisms like PACE, Commercial Property Assessed Clean Energy, if you don't care for acronyms, to deploy solar energy. One of our champions for change, Jessica Paley, sitting in the front row, knows a little something about just how much a difference financing tools like PACE can make. Jessica comes to us from Connecticut's Green Bank, where she's worked since 2012. She designed a statewide program to help property owners get financing for clean energy improvements. In its first year, her program brought more than $20 million in financing to Connecticut to support over 3 megawatts of solar energy and millions of energy efficiency savings. All of our states should be taking advantage of PACE and innovative clean energy financing tools, as Jessica has pioneered in Connecticut. And today, the Environmental Protection Agency is announcing that the Green Power Partnership is going to aim to double the use of on-site renewable energy, including solar power, by the end of the decade. Since 2001, the Green Power Partnership has worked with schools, with businesses, and with state, local, and federal agencies to expand clean energy. And the Department of Energy is announcing that they will be releasing 2 new guides in the coming months to help state and local business leaders finance and deploy more clean energy. By highlighting existing federal resources, providing model contracts, and publishing case studies, the Commercial Solar Deployment Playbook and the updated Guide to Federal Financing for Clean Energy will help our solar power boom to keep going and keep strong. And those measures will help our champions of change go back into their communities and build on their already considerable accomplishments to deploy more clean energy, to help more low-income families save money on their electric bills, to create more jobs, to inspire others to follow their lead. Elise Cherry from Boston Community Capital has helped secure financing for over 17,000 solar panels for affordable housing and community facilities. Henry Red Cloud has started one of the United States' first 100% Native American-owned and operated renewable energy companies, employing tribal members to manufacture and install solar air heating systems on reservations across the Great Plains. Tim Sears co-founded a company that has installed more than 4,000 solar projects and provided more than 15,000 people with training and job experience. All of our champions of change have worked each day to demonstrate what we all know to be true. Solar power is a smart investment, it's good for our climate, it's good for our economy, and it's good for our communities. and deployed solar power can even make our communities more resilient in the face of extreme weather. The science of climate change tells us that while it's impossible to attribute any one storm to climate change, rising average global temperatures will make our weather more extreme overall. Droughts will be longer lasting and more severe. Some places will see more torrential downpours and more floods. The seas, of course, will rise. Storm surge will be more of a problem. Since 2003, weather-related blackouts have doubled. Severe weather is the leading cause of power outages in the United States. When the power grid is damaged or down, it's more than a temporary inconvenience. Extended power outages are a danger to public health. They're a drain on local economies. Homes and businesses with their own source of power are more resilient to the impacts of extreme weather. So that's why, even as we gather to recognize the achievement of our champions of change, I want to challenge all the people in the audience today and all the people watching to do more. We need leaders like you to step up in the coming weeks and months to make commitments to deploy solar power in your communities. We need you to partner with state and local tribal leaders. We need you to work with local businesses. We need you to reach out to community development, financial institutions, and federal agencies, and investment firms to raise financing to bring solar power to low-income neighborhoods. If you do, we can curb the dangerous greenhouse gas emissions that are damaging our climate. We can make our communities more resilient against severe weather. We can bring clean, affordable energy to American homes and businesses. We can create jobs and create opportunities for American workers. And because the sun will rise each day in the east, and because leaders like you will rise with it, and hard work for your communities, for your neighbors, and for all Americans. So thank you for what you've been doing. I challenge you to do even more, and we'll be standing with you as you approach the challenges in your own communities. Thank you again for being here. I'll turn the floor over to Amy.
Thanks again, John, for those remarks. Next up, we have the Secretary of the Department of Energy, which is responsible for everything from nuclear waste to advanced nuclear power. I started with the best one. To a range of energy technology investments that really represent the full breadth of the President's all-the-above energy strategy. Secretary Moniz, before he joined the Obama administration, was a professor of physics, my favorite subject in college, I'm sure many of you can relate, and engineering. And this is not his first time in government. He served previously in the Clinton administration, both at the Department of Energy and the Office of Science and Technology Policy. Please help me joining and welcoming Secretary Moniz.
Well, thank you, Ali, although I might reconsider after that nuclear waste comment. And also I want to say thanks to John Podesta, not just for his remarks today, but for the leadership he is bringing to the President's energy and climate agenda. And it's really been great to be reunited with John in terms of working on these clean energy challenges. As the President mentioned in his State of the Union address, every 4 minutes another American home or business goes solar. And I think many people in this room are really important parts of that reality, and we thank you for that, and it's an honor to be able to recognize what you have done. I've said many times before, including in my pre-return to government period, that I certainly am very, very bullish on the future of solar. We can talk about numbers like for nearly 5 gigawatts total solar technologies installation in 2013, over a third of our total deployment. I'm almost embarrassed to say that my first exposure to solar panels was more than 50 years ago, when as a high school student, I went to Bell Labs and saw the nearly complete first Telstar communications satellite, ball covered with solar panels, and it was really, really quite something to see. But then in my more recent past, as Ali mentioned, at MIT, where I directed the MIT Energy Initiative, in our first 4 years, we had a tremendous growth of the program, showing the commitment of students and faculty to the energy and climate agenda. And within that time period, we had 104 solar projects, clearly the long pole in our energy tent there. And so, again, very, very major commitment. Now, since those Telstar days, obviously, photovoltaic panels and modules have certainly declined in cost, a couple orders of magnitude since the Telstar days, as John said, maybe 75% since 2008. And of course, that cost reduction is part and parcel of the deployment increases that we are seeing so aggressively. John mentioned jobs, nearly 150,000, but that increase in jobs in the solar industry in the United States, about 20% since the fall of 2012, and that is very, very substantially above the overall job creation rate. So I think we're seeing a number of indicators and a number of important impacts. Today, in my remarks, I will get to the announcement that John announced, but I want to emphasize a little bit here something that is, in some sense, the innovation chain that leads to the kinds of deployments that you can do and even accelerate as we continue to drive costs down, for example, in this area. So I want to talk about our role briefly in across the entire innovation chain, research, development, demonstration, and deployment of solar. We all know that the one might say traditional role of the government in supporting basic research is well recognized, but I want to say that we are working across the innovation chain all the way from basic research to deployment because of something that John also mentioned, the urgency of responding to the greenhouse gas emission challenge, the urgency that was reinforced by the IPCC report of just last weekend, by the reality that if we want to accomplish the climate risk mitigation goals that we feel are so critical, it's only good business sense to be doing that now before it gets a lot more expensive and a lot more difficult down the road. And that, of course, is at the basis of the President's Climate Action Plan. I'll just make one more comment that in this kind of introduction, and it's a quote that I've used many times from a person, Harish Hande, in India, who has been very, very instrumental, particularly in off-grid applications of solar. And in some sense, one might say a dichotomy between on-grid and off-grid. This was some years ago, where he said that solar energy at that time is too expensive for the rich, but very affordable for the poor. And of course, the idea was there that solar, off-grid, scalable, can mean so much to those who don't have electricity. But we're reaching the point where it's going to be affordable for everybody and all applications, and that's what we're seeing in this country. And that's a pretty remarkable development over just six or 7 years, in fact, in terms of where we're going. But as I said, innovation, Department of Energy is, in many ways, our major focus is on this innovation chain. I want to just repeat it again and again. The object of that innovation is continued cost reduction in these zero carbon technologies and solar in particular. So just a few things I'll just say across that spectrum. For example, on the research side, much of it at universities, we support energy frontier research centers, which are really looking at the grand challenges that are going to permit brand new materials in the future. It'll provide maybe flexible materials, the whole array, organic materials, whatever the solution is, probably at the nanoscale. But the idea is that they will, again, be cost reducers. It may be, for example, in eliminating a lot of the substrates that one needs, the weight that drives a lot of system costs. So we will continue to work that way. Our laboratories are clearly engaged as well. NREL, our National Renewable Laboratory in Colorado, continues to drive the efficiency frontier at the lab scale with private sector implications. But I'll mention another example of what NREL was part of now some years back, and that was working in the early stages of First Solar in terms of developing the thin film deposition technologies that then drove First Solar from a startup company to a company that installed a gigawatt last year. Of course, the Sunshot Incubator Program, $104 million in government funds, has now leveraged $1.8 billion in investment funds, venture capital, equity investments. Again, pretty good leverage. One company from that program, Innovolite, used the funding to increase conversion efficiency of its cells from 14 to 19%, which made them very attractive to DuPont, which is continuing to develop the technology. Our ARPA-E program takes yet a different cut, kind of an entrepreneurial approach to technology development, including a very important component, tech to market work with every awardee. Again, a whole bunch of technologies here, including supporting new manufacturing technologies, same theme, cost reduction, as well as the essential enabling technologies like power conversion devices and storage that will even make solar more attractive as we go forward. One ARPA-E recipient, Primus Power, working with the military. John mentioned the Department of Defense commitments. In this case, developing a low-cost, energy-dense storage system that can store enough energy to operate a military base for 72 hours in the event of a disruption. They are building a microgrid, Miramar, and they will use solar power during the day and, of course, charging up their batteries for the rest of the time. When it comes to distributed solar in particular, of course, we all know that another issue is the system cost reduction, the soft costs as such an important part of the challenge. In the United States, there are more than 18,000 local jurisdictions with their own PV permitting requirements. I know many of you face that in your work. This can be expensive, it can be burdensome, and we now know many of these soft costs are now the dominant cost, in fact, of a system. So again, in our Sunshot initiative, we are through our rooftop solar challenge working to reduce installation costs. And to try to speed the permitting process for rooftop solar units. A couple of success stories, and we need to scale this up dramatically. Broward County, Florida, solar energy system permit and a pre-approved set of design plans now is a 30-minute affair and not a many week affair. And that means, of course, cost as well as less frustration, shall we say. In Chicago, again, solar permits are now down to about 25% less than they were just recently. Again, a day instead of a month. And so we need to keep thinking across the board, as I say, from that early stage innovation all the way to these critical deployment issues. And as John indicated, so today we're very pleased to say that through the Sunshot Initiative, we will be offering $15 million to help communities develop multi-year solar deployment plans that will enable them to install, again, affordable solar electricity for homes and businesses. This Solar Market Pathways funding opportunity aims to help communities expand solar markets, remove red tape, and build public-private partnerships. As part of this, communities could choose to launch shared solar programs, giving families and businesses opportunities to own, lease, or purchase electricity from a share of a larger solar project. Again, reducing overall costs, same theme, and giving more consumers access to solar. I'll just mention another initiative that is maybe indirectly relevant here, but very important. The President, of course, has emphasized strongly the idea of our building more manufacturing hubs. This is about the enabling technologies for manufacturing in this country in the future for solar and for many, many other areas. So, for example, in January, I was very honored to join the President in North Carolina, where we launched a manufacturing hub on wide bandgap semiconductors, power electronics, again, multiple applications, including in this business. Finally, in terms of some of the clean energy finance issues that, again, John Podesta alluded to, we are in the White House, at the Department of Energy, and across the government, looking at many methods of advancing clean energy finance. I'll just mention one of this. This is not exactly now at the small scale, but one of our programs, the loan program, is one that we are continuing to move aggressively. In the solar business, you know that this has been not without controversy, but I want to say flat out, this program has been a tremendous success when looked at as a portfolio. Just over 2% in a default rate, but doing its job of first mover initiatives. So certainly one of the great stories here is that, you know, in 2009, 2010, this country had no utility scale photovoltaic or CSP really plants. And of course, debt financing wasn't exactly easy to come by. The program supported the first 5 100 megawatt plus PV installations, and subsequently 10 more are now going forward with purely private financing. That's the kind of pattern we want, where we are helping get things started, but of course it will take the private sector ultimately to manage the scale up. Similarly, on CSP, we dedicated the Ivanpah facility recently, Southern California. Pretty impressive. You got to admit, seeing it, more than 300,000, you know, big mirrors, 3 big towers. Looks kind of like the Tower of Mordor, but to a good purpose. Again, moving out these first movers at large scale for future deployment, not only in the United States, but potentially around the world. And just yesterday, we announced in our loan programs office that we are now soliciting a new round of proposals for loan guarantees in renewables and energy efficiency. We anticipate the order of $4 billion here being issued, probably in this case with an increased emphasis on co-funding with other investors. So we continue to, I want to make it clear, we continue to advance this program, and we are advancing this program across the clean energy spectrum, and specifically, as I said, yesterday's announcement was for renewables and energy efficiency. So I'm going to have the pleasure of moving on to acknowledge our champions. I'll do so after just one last thought, and again, it refers to some of the people in this room. People are obviously at least as important as the technology, and again, that includes our champions today, and it includes all of the students that we are training for a variety of roles in our clean energy future. As I said, I'll just end by repeating, I at least personally, and I think others in this administration, pretty uniformly, we're very bullish on solar and look forward to the continuing contributions that the Champions of Change will make. Actually, one last factoid I just mentioned in driving in here today. I read from Bloomberg New Energy Finance some data that were new to me, at least, that it commented about last year, a 23% increase in global solar capacity and a 9% increase in global clean energy investment. So up to nearly $48 billion in the first quarter of 2014. We all know some of the recent trends have been difficult, and this could be a very, very interesting turnaround. We hope continuing turnaround in this trend. So with that, I am going to read the names of our awardees with a very, very short bio. I'd like you to stand so that everyone can stare at you for a little bit and then acknowledge your contributions. So Jessica Bailey from Norwalk, Connecticut. She's the Director of Commercial and Industrial Property, Assessed Clean Energy, C-PACE, at Connecticut's Clean Energy Finance and Investment Authority. Thank you. Donald Baird from New York, I should say. Just to make that clear, he's the founder of Block Power, a startup that markets and finances the installation of energy efficiency and renewable energy technologies in religious institutions, small businesses, and nonprofits, and in underserved communities. Individual and institutional impact investors are connected to solar and energy efficiency project finance opportunities via Block Power's online platform. And thank you again for your contribution. Kate Bowman, Salt Lake City, Utah. Kate is the solar project coordinator for Utah Clean Energy and coordinates community solar initiatives to help individuals tackle logistical and financial barriers to solar deployment. Thank you. Elise Cherry from Brookline, Massachusetts, my hometown. And I got to say that actually on Tuesday is Earth Day, a reminder, and actually so I'll be in Boston with Administrator Gina McCarthy, another Boston native, but she's from Jamaica Plain, not Brookline. Anyway, we'll be pleased to be doing a set of events in Boston on Earth Day. Anyway, Elise is CEO of Boston Community Capital, which has placed over 17,000 panels on the roofs of affordable housing and community facilities, reducing carbon emissions by the equivalent of 6.7 million miles of car travel. Thank you. I especially appreciate the pollution reduction in our hometown. So anyway, Ismael Guerrero from Denver. Ismael is Executive Director of the Housing Authority of the City and County of Denver. He's been a leader in adopting solar power at the Housing Authority, including 2.5 megawatts of generation on affordable single-family residences this year. Thank you. Peter Marte, Atlanta, Georgia. Peter is the founder and CEO of Hannah Solar, which has grown to become the largest solar integrator in Georgia, which is where I was 2 days ago, I guess it was. Was it? No, yesterday, come to think of it. Yesterday, it's hard to keep track of this, but again, largest integrator in Georgia, as well as being the largest integrator of electric vehicle charging station equipment. Thank you. I might say I was with your outstanding citizen colleague, Sam Nunn, in Georgia. Henry Red Cloud, Pine Ridge, South Dakota. Henry Red Cloud is the founder of Lakota Solar Enterprises on the Pine Ridge Reservation in South Dakota. The company employs tribal members to manufacture and install solar air heating systems for Native American families across the Great Plains. Thank you. Anya Schoolman, Washington, D.C. Anya is the Executive Director of Community Power Network, a national nonprofit that helps communities support local renewable energy projects and policies. Thank you. Tim Sears, Albany, California. Tim is the co-founder of Grid Alternatives, the country's largest nonprofit solar installer. Grid Alternatives has installed over 4,000 solar projects across the country. Thank you. Finally, Rajendra Singh from Clemson, South Carolina. Dr. Singh is the D. Hauser Banks Professor in the Holcomb Department of Electrical and Computer Engineering at Clemson University. And in the last 40 years, he's been a leader in photovoltaic module manufacturing. Thank you. And with that, I would encourage one last collective round of applause to all of our champions. and thank you, and I'm sure it's going to be a very, very interesting day.